From 1776 to 1826, Thomas Jefferson defined the age. His ideas, his actions laid the groundwork for the 19th century. From 1800 to 1824 is often known as the Age of Jefferson. Jefferson was an intellectual Virginia planter. He was well-read and curious. He had many roles in government, from congressional representative to governor of Virginia to Secretary of State to president. But he was most proud of his ideas of creating an enlightened ideology of republicanism. His goal was to create a nation of yeoman farmers. In 1776, Jefferson, working with Adams from Massachusetts and Franklin from Pennsylvania, wrote the Declaration of Independence. Based on the principles of a social compact with a limited government and the natural rights of man, featuring a freedom of conscience and a freedom of religion, Jefferson, Adams, and Franklin and the Declaration of Independence effectively broke with England, establishing another step on the journey of self-government in the United States. From 1779 to 1781, Jefferson served as governor of Virginia. Then, from 1784 to 1789, Jefferson was sent to France as ambassador for the United States. He was greatly influenced by the ideas of the French Revolution, particularly liberty, equality, and fraternity. These continued to form his ideas of republicanism. All the while in France, he was the toast of the salons, drinking red wine with the philosophes in France. Upon his return from Paris, Jefferson is named Secretary of State by George Washington under the new Constitution. Together with Alexander Hamilton, Thomas Jefferson and Hamilton defined American government by advising George Washington and effectively establishing the two-party tradition. Jefferson and the Anti-Federalists are strict constructionists. Power not explicitly given to the federal government is reserved to the states. Jefferson favored large states over a large central government. He favored open democracy, agrarian civilization, and Southern and Western principles. Jefferson established a Jeffersonian Party, the Anti-Federalist Party, and or the Democrat-Republicans. Hamilton favored loose constructionists, a broad interpretation of the Constitution with a big federal government, smaller state governments. Hamilton favors banks in an urban, industrial, elite society. In 1800, Thomas Jefferson defeated John Adams for the presidency. This election marked the first peaceful exchange of power between parties in history. Jefferson's support was supported by the waves of immigrants and by the westward pull of the nation. Jefferson lost New England and Massachusetts, but he took most of the West and the South. This marked the beginning of the end for federalism and the survival and success of republicanism. Jefferson claimed this to be the Revolution of 1800, but many people really question the role of the Three-Fifths Compromise in giving Jefferson the election victory. So with Jefferson's election, he had the opportunity to create his agrarian republic. In 1803, Jefferson was able to buy the Louisiana Purchase from France for 800,000 square miles of territory for only $15 million. Jefferson's goal originally was to purchase New Orleans in order to control the Mississippi River. But he doubled the size of the United States and the nation expanded westward. Jefferson in 1804 then sent Lewis and Clark across the country on an exploration vision, a scientific and social exploration, bringing back samples of interactions with science and the local people. Jefferson's vision of a nation of yeoman farmers was getting closer every step as the nation was flooded with immigrants in the early 1820s and 1830s. But Jefferson's vision of a nation of agrarian farmers was consistent with his view as a planter from Virginia. But planters from Virginia had slaves, and this also conflicted with Jefferson's view of republicanism. Jefferson had over 200 slaves on his plantation, Monticello, and had a long-time relationship with one Sally Hemings, which resulted in no fewer than 5 children. Thomas Jefferson's view of small government was also challenged by executive power. Thomas Jefferson was not merely a Virginia planter, but now he was leading a nation of Americans. Trade conflicts and impressment with Britain led Jefferson to exert executive authority with the Embargo Act of 1807. Jefferson used trade policy to try to improve the business climate. This move was wildly unpopular, and Jefferson's popularity nosedives in 1808. In 1808, Jefferson is really happy to leave the presidency and return back home to Monticello. So Jefferson returned to Virginia, where he created the University of Virginia to educate the generations of Republican yeoman farmers to come. His protégés, James Madison and James Monroe, would follow his footsteps from Secretary of State to the presidency. They would hold the White House from 1808 to 1824, carrying out his vision of a nation of republicanism. The age-old conflict between urban industrialism, as envisioned by Alexander Hamilton, and the rural yeoman farmers, as envisioned by Thomas Jefferson, will continue as a lasting question in American history. It is not until 1824, when another national figure emerges on the scene, that holds as much influence as Thomas Jefferson. Andrew Jackson emerges out of Tennessee to become a leading figure in the age of Jackson.